evening. My name is Stacy Renee. I'm a mindset coach, a life coach, life on life's terms coach. Tonight, we're going to talk about what do we want and how do we get there. This one of the people in here the other evening asked me to talk about what do we want and how do we get there. And y'all know I wrote it down, and so I've made my notes on it here, and I'm just going to wait a few minutes for y'all to be able to make it. So if you're not familiar with this channel, I usually pick a topic, and we discuss and break it down through the week. And so, thank you for those hearts, darling. So we discuss the topic and break it down as the week goes, and talking about what do we want and how do we get there. We were just talking this morning, I was in a meeting, and we were just talking this morning about thinking that we want something. Hey, darling, it's good to see you. And so, how do we get there? A lot of times we think we want something, then when we get it, we realize 5 elements. Hi, Bobby. How are you? And then once we get it, it's like, maybe not so much. There may be some maintenance to it. My ex-husband and I, we fantasized about living in the country. We bought 10 acres out in the country. And to have ag use on these acreage, what we had to do was we had to get some cattle out there. So we had only 3 cattle, but 3 cattle counts, But once you get 10 acres, there's a lot of maintenance. Good, Bobby. So then there's a lot of maintenance when you have 10 acres. And so after we had 10 acres, after a while, it got really tiring and really old. So sometimes, what we want is, it was beautiful out there. I could see the stars, it was in Texas, and I could see those stars. But when those cattle got out of the fence, we had 1 longhorn, 1 black Angus, and then a baby between the 2 of them. And so the longhorn would break the barbed wire on the fence with her horns. And when she would get out, I would have to, my ex would be out of town sometimes. And I remember one time distinctly, it was a day. The weather's great over here in Mexico. How's the weather where you are? So one time, I had the kids by myself. The ex was in New York or somewhere. I don't remember, New York or Norway or something like this. And anyway, I was leaving the driveway, and as I'm pulling out, this lady pulls up ahead of me, and she says, "Is that your cows and over there in my swimming pool?" And I'm like, I don't know. She says, "The black Angus," and my black Angus was over there in her swimming pool. They had busted out, so I had to fix the gate with these 2 kids. Then I go to get gas, and then what happens? These 2 kids are sitting on each of the doors hollering and yelling. I come out after I got the gas, went in, paid for it, come out, and I was so distraught with the kids hanging out of the car. It's nice there too. Oh, the beginning of the monsoon. Yeah, see, we get the hurricane season here, but it's not here yet. So the kids were hanging out of the car, and you know what I did? I pulled off from the gas pumps with the thing in the car. So then there was that, to go run the business of the karate studio. So anyway, all of that being said, that what we have today typically is what we wished for yesterday. And then we want, hi, Jimsy, how are you? No. And if you don't be nice, Jimsy, you're going to get put out of here. Ramon, well, did she have 1 piece? If not, no, it's mine, not mine. No, they were in the swimming pool. The cows went to the neighbors and went to the swimming pool. So then I had to fix this barbed wire fence. I am not a cowhand. I am not. It's like mood swing climate. Yep. Yay, Mom's home from the hospital. That's good news. So I'm glad that you were able to get some rest yesterday. So I'll get started today. So, in the talking and asking to speak about what do you want and how to get there, remembering what we have today was what we once wanted. So I've got my notes here. So a lot of people decide what they don't want, but what they don't want anymore was what they once wanted, right? Well, we know what we don't want. And so that's why I like the polarities, Okay, some of this is going to be crazy tonight, I'm afraid. Okay. Anyway, what we talk about here is we stay on topic. I'm not going to address comments if they're not on topic. And, a few I'll address in the beginning. But as we get going, I need to stay on topic. So for the replays and things. So we don't talk about religion, politics. We don't talk about my dating statuses or my age. Those are things we don't talk about here. We can talk spirituality, but there's a lot of different people from a lot of different places here, and I respect it all. So I want us to be respectful in here. And if you're not respectful, Kim will zap you out. She sure will. So okay, back to the topic. I thought I said my age, but no, we definitely do not talk about my age. All right. So we need to heal from what we don't want. A lot of us are, no, I'm not pharmacy. So a lot of us know what we don't want, And so, but like I said, a lot of things that we don't want now, we used to want. No. That's one of those with multiple accounts, looks like, Kim. You know what? Bye-bye. Oh, you already got them. All right. Now they really timed out. Hopefully they don't have another account. Okay. So we need to heal what we don't want, because a lot of us are making decisions off of what we don't want. So it's like I want this, but we spend more energy on, I don't want this. Angie, you made it. Yay. So we got Angie and Kim here. So I've definitely got the moderators tonight. So thank y'all. So it was said in yesterday's meeting that idealizing alone, okay, where am I at, is not empowering. So we can't just idealize. We can't just say, I want this. Like I say, I want to move to Spain. My plan is developing. So everything is practice and development before we get what we want. Ramon, yeah, going to get it now. Okay. So everything's in practice and development, getting what we want. So like my goal is to move to Italy. Epic. What is this? Stacy Renee is at 6 p.m. at this time on Monday, Friday at 6 p.m. and on Wednesday and Sunday, 9 a.m. Thank you for being here, Epic. So Shivam, you generally look. Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's a compliment. Thank you, Shivam. Good stuff. Thank you. So we're talking about what was suggested about, what do we want and how do we get there? Like there. So we're going to talk about that. Yes, Leonard, I want to move to Italy eventually, but I want to move to Spain for 2 years and then move to Italy after that. So everything is coming together. But right now I'm sitting in Mexico. And I don't have the requirements ready to move to Spain yet. I've got to get all this ready, and I don't know how I'm going to get it ready, but I just know that this is what I'm going to do. My mind's made up, so don't confuse me with the facts. I actually used to have a T-shirt that said that when I was like 14. But you live near Italy? Oh, very cool. Very cool. If you have any online jobs near Italy that need an English speaker, let me know. Huh? Mexico's just brush up. Yeah, I know, that's right. I just need to brush up on my Spanish, and that's what I want to do. That's what I'm going to move to, because it's all Latin. So Italian, I can understand. Italian I can. So if I know Latin, if I know some Spanish, so it's all, it's all coming together. But the thing is that for what I want, I have to be patient to get it. Like I'm not moving tomorrow. And if I don't know how I'm going to get there or things aren't going my way, it doesn't mean that I'm not going. See, this is how we get to where we want to grow. But a lot of people want instant gratification. So we're going to break it down and be talking about these things this evening. So we need to heal from what we don't want so that we're not gearing towards what we don't want. A lot of people think, I don't want to fail. I don't want to, be abandoned. I don't want this, whatever it is. And we all have it's, so it's, and what? Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, you'll be gone here for too long. How's Mexico? Like vibe and stuff. There we go. The vibe here is really cool. It's really muy tranquilo, very laid back, so I like it here. It's very laid back and, it's, yeah, people mind their business. It's laid back. You just do what you do. So, um, so finding my spot again. So when we need to heal from what we don't want, it's not just a knee-jerk reaction or split decision. A lot of times people start their central nervous system, or they start, they see something right away and they're like, I don't want that. And so they shove it away. But sometimes, I was talking to, I think it was Angie the other day, and sometimes what we think is my dad, when he went into the 12-step program first, and he's like, he said that this man was really impressive in there. This man said, sometimes what we think is bad is good, and sometimes what we think is good is bad. And so that's really true. And that's part of this polarity stuff that I like to talk about, is sometimes when we don't, when we're able to have non-attachment to things. So I'm going to get there too. So, yeah, a knee-jerk reaction or escape doesn't always mean happiness. So a lot of times people are just like, I don't want this, so they go this way, but they don't know what they want. So that's the first step in getting important, because I know that I've done it, and I know a lot of people have done it, is that, like, they want a knee-jerk reaction, just get angry or just get fear, and then like, I'm off. Thank you so much, PGZ. I hope so. I hope so, because it's meant to be. So thank you. So there are different circumstances. So healing from what we don't want is important. So I talked Friday not about how if we have a healthy, if we don't have a healthy esteem, we may look poorly on someone who loves us, and finding fault with them and then picking them apart. Like if you don't have a healthy esteem, you may pick somebody else apart, because if you don't feel worthy, you project they're not worthy. Does that make sense? So we have to be very careful not to do that, because sometimes, people aren't our esteem. Your esteem comes from that self part. So getting in alignment with what you do want, not just an adventure for somebody else to entertain you. So you see, that oftentimes happens is that we just push somebody aside when we don't have a healthy self-esteem, so that we can find somebody else who we think is better and will entertain us, or that job. We may have a good job, and then we get pissed off at one coworker or two coworkers, and then we think, oh, well, I need to cut and run and go to another job, when sometimes we can just manage and move. So being able to make decisions without a knee-jerk reaction, to be able to think things out. So thank you very much. I appreciate that, PGZ. So when we talked Friday night about how if we have that healthy esteem, we may look poorly on someone who loves us, finding fault with them. And so it gives us a reprieve from, doing that to ourselves. Is what it does, is that we're not picking ourselves apart. We're picking somebody else apart for a change, is what it does. So we're blaming somebody else for our unhappiness. Happens sometimes. Your life, well, keep listening. I'll give you a life tip. So everyone, okay. So Shivam, I think discipline depends on ideology you have towards your work or job. If you have a biases of opinion towards the work, fumbling between jobs and work won't help. Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. Lola, darling, you're welcome to stay here, but we don't talk about Okay. Well, I didn't even get to tell her. Kim, let me tell them at least, because sometimes they change their dialogue. You're amazing, though. But hello, JR. Sometimes they change. Sometimes I've had them say, oh, sorry, and then they stay. So we'll see. We'll give them a chance. Let's give them a chance. Oh, okay. Okay. I thought they was put out, because I know you ain't having it. She's got my back, y'all. She ain't having it. Thank you, darling. Okay, we have to heal from what we don't want to have what we do want. It's not a fast fix. It's not. It's not going to happen in 3, 6, 9 months, probably, because whatever you don't want has been embedded and ingrained in your central nervous system, in your psyche. And so your perception, see, hear, touch, taste, smell something, and you're off to the races. That's what that means. That's a reaction, and that's what knee jerk is, you know. So for me, I didn't just wake up like this. It took me 15, 16 years of going to, no, we don't talk about that here, but thank you. You're welcome to be here. Hopefully this will help you. We're talking about, you know, what do you want and how to get there. So I hope that this will be helpful for you. JR, hey chat, running on thin ice. We run. No, she just deleted the comment, but it's cool. So she's doing great. 100%. Yeah. I can tell you the healing work that I've done took me 15 to 16 years. What I did was I was going to my coach. There, I went to my therapist first, and I got a coach, and I went to my coach every other week, because that's the thing, is I had to change that. Thank you so much, Lola. I appreciate you. I appreciate that. So I went to that coach every other week, $75 a pop, y'all. Every other week. Now, sometimes I, you know, could afford that, and sometimes she let me slide, you know. So anyway, so it's not like I was rich. But I really wanted to learn. I really wanted to heal. And that's what we have to do. We can't keep running our central nervous system. So that's what I'm talking about, is I had to heal. I couldn't be where I am at today without healing, because I had a lot of fear embedded and ingrained and imprinted in my body, in my mind, and in my soul. So it took me a long time to be able to process this. I'm not saying everybody has to take that long, but I grew up in some trauma, you know, and so I had a lot of imprint in here about not trusting people. And so to learn to trust people, I had to learn to trust myself, so that I was able to see what I did want and what I didn't want, and to not second guess myself, that, and, you know, fantasize. So I'm going to get to that too in this talk. Okay. So the healing work that I did took me a long time, that I've done has taken me a long time. It wasn't a one and done. It wasn't a 30, 60 day, 90-day plan with a couple of follow-ups. It's not like that, because your trauma or your imprint didn't take 30, 60, 90 days with a couple of follow-ups. And I'm not saying it's going to take as long as the trauma took, but I am saying that it's a process and retraining. It's retraining and unlearning a lot of things. Retraining your neural pathways, and I'll get to that too. So that's here in the notes. So it didn't take that long because there was something wrong with me or that I was stupid. My beliefs about myself were buried so deep under the low self-esteem and the false esteem and the walls that I had built, and the shit I buried on my soul. Sorry about the language, but that it's just really what it was. It was a lot of stuff buried on my soul. Hello, Russia. I couldn't even begin to say that name, but rising to shine. Yes, I do work. I'm not retired. So, in fact, I'm a mindset coach. If you need a mindset coach, although I don't know what she's talking about. Okay. Well, I'm glad you're here. So, it took a while to tear down and dig off all that off, you know, to tear down the walls and dig that stuff off my soul. It didn't, well, thank you. It didn't just come off like that. I didn't just say, okay, I want this and this is going to happen. I say this and it's all practice and development. It's not going to happen instantly. It might. But when it does happen, it will probably happen instantly. It's been my experience that what I want will happen. That's where I have faith. It will happen. But it's going to be a series of practice and development to make sure that I'm divinely aligned, because I can't just pick up and move here, you know, just pick up and move like that. There's a certain process, because I think things out and there's a process to things. So then I'm not just trying to instant gratify. So this was the unconscious, you know, that stuff that was on my soul. Do I think of death? Sometimes I think of death. I don't think of harming myself, but I know that we're not getting out of here alive, y'all. We're just not. So this was the unconscious. So that with that being said, is that we need to be conscious of what we're saying and what we're doing, because sometimes, well, I can see that duality, right, JR? So the thing is Well, it's an okay question because it's a part of life. See, when we're talking about like what Epic's saying, or what have you, or JR's saying is it is that duality. Because the reality is, and this duality is that people cry when people are born and they're happy, but people also cry when people die and they're unhappy. But we're all going to die. That's we are. And do I think about it? Yeah, I think about what I say with my words because I want to make sure that I'm not saying anything ugly to anybody. Because I had a friend, I told y'all last week, my friend once told me she let her family have it. And I'm like, you said that? Really? And any of us could fall out any day. I lost it. And my son's birthday would be this month. So, I mean, he would be 34. You're scared of death? I understand. When you get to be older like me, people start dying. And I just said today, I have had two people, two of my sponsees die, you know, and so it was sudden. One of them was really sudden. She was sitting on her couch drinking tea with her dog sitting beside her, and so the fact is, and so what I try to, bring to the table here is to be conscious of ourselves. Is probably I'm trying to teach some consciousness because and that not knowing when anyone's last day is and getting clear about what we want and not running our central nervous system in hateful mode, blaming others for what's going on is that we don't know. And do you want to leave it like that? That's what I'm always saying. Do you want to leave it like that? Really? Really? Are you going to leave it like that? It doesn't mean we have to approve, like I said the other evening. How can you conquer the fear of death? Well, as you get older, I don't know how old you are, but as you get older, people start dying. I've sat with a couple of people while they died, and it is epic. Death is rest, nothing to stress about. Is it something we can't control? And this is the thing. You can't control it. That's the thing is you cannot control death. And if you've ever had children, John London, hello, darling. If you've ever had children, you know that you can't control when that child's coming into this world because a lot of us want that child to come on. But the child comes when the child comes. Death comes when death comes. So we are not in control of these things. We're in control if we get pregnant or not, but kind of. But some people can't control if they get pregnant. So Ramiro Lopez, hello, Epic. You conquer it by releasing that life is the hard part. Life is the dash. Life is the dash, and we don't remember our birth, and life is going to keep going. All right, Napoleon, we don't talk about politics here, okay? So you're welcome to stay here. I hope you might even consider subscribing. What we're talking about is what do we want and how do we get there? So death isn't even a part of that, but death is very important because I'm a grief coach too. I'm a mindset coach, life coach, and what I specialize in is addiction recovery, codependency, and grief. It's what people think it is, I believe. Abba Shahaks is, I believe it's what people think it is. If you ever watch What My Dreams May Come, I like that movie because it's like that. So we're getting back to the topic. But if we can talk about death at one of these days if you want to. Thinking that will make you stress about death may be ultimately unhelpful to ponder, right? Because acceptance. When we're trying to control things, we can't be in acceptance. So that's a duality in itself, right? There's a lot of dualities that maybe aren't even opposite of each other. And this is what I try to teach as a coach is that we need to get in alignment. So if we're trying to, okay, I don't know what that is. Anyway, okay, so I had a lot of protective survival skills that I needed to change in tangible tools so that I didn't keep hurting myself and others, right? Just like we're talking about, are you going to leave it like that? Did I need to get puffy and passive aggressive? We talked about that the other evening. John London, I believe that the afterlife is real life and that life is a trap of soul reincarnation and suffering, samsara. Yeah, that makes sense. And I was sitting here when I woke up this morning, I thought about, I wonder what my other life does while I'm sleeping, because I know that I'm resting, but there's our soul. Our soul is, our soul doesn't need sleep. Our source doesn't need sleep. So I think that our soul is connected to that source and that we don't need sleep and that part, but that I think we could be on a journey even while we're sleeping. So, anyway, that's just we don't know. We don't know. But yeah, I think there is an afterlife. I think that it's the soul that goes on. Our bodies are going to die. I mean, it's inevitable. We're going to age. If we're lucky, my son died at 18, so I don't take life for granted at all. Abishaks. I heard that our eyes is what our souls look through. I do believe that, Abishaks. I always tell people, because in this imprint, as the eyes are, I believe they say the window to the soul, right? Right, JR, welcome to the unknown. The eyes, I do believe, are the window to the soul. So with the clients, I'm not getting into heaven and hell, Napoleon. I'm not. I do believe that people, that I want to acknowledge that there is in consciousness of people. Some people believe in it, some people don't, and I'm not getting into it. And I'm not saying that there is, and I'm not saying that there isn't. That's not. I'm not. That's not my. I don't know. Like JR said, welcome to the unknown. So anyway, I didn't lost my train. This is why I have notes, y'all. This is why I have notes. But that's a great topic. Definitely, you can tell the good and bad people and the intention. Exactly, John London. And a lot of that cleansing the soul is tears. And people that cry, that are comfortable with their cry and their tears, they usually have clear eyes because they're not holding back, because we can carry stress in our eyes, right, John London? We can carry stress in our eyes. We can carry stress in our face and in our body. It looks like your body, your body language and posture, but when you walk upon somebody and they're stressed. Yes. So I oftentimes recommend, looking into the mirror and saying, I am good enough, doing these things, imprinting our soul through the mirror exercises, looking in our own eyes, because I know that my eyes have told me lies. My eyes, when I was in 5th grade, told me that I was ugly, and all of this kind of stuff. Our eyes can tell us lies. So we have to you can definitely see hurt, pain, and stress. Absolutely. And so when our eyes and our words match each other, heaven is air, hell is eventually here. Let's learn to navigate. Yes, yes. So, they say in recovery that they say, what is it? They say that hell, we've already been to hell. If you've suffered with any kind of addiction, I don't think animals are in hell. I think animals are heavenly. I think animals are to teach us about grief myself, but no one knows, right? But I think animals are to teach us about grief. Like our dogs are usually our first experience because they're only going to live 12 to 15 years if we're lucky. And so eyes are the key to the soul. They are the key to the soul. That's why I say it's important to cry, to water, they're like water for the soul, so that our soul can grow. It's like, and everything that grows needs water, right? So I learned that if I was hurting another person, job or even family, wasn't going to fix it. I had to learn what drew me to those things. Epic Big Macs are tasty. They are part of hell, though. I think they're going to take us to Big Macs. Animals, to me, are a blessing that most of us don't deserve. I think that that they're meant to have relationship with us. I think we deserve them. I think we deserve a lot more than we give ourselves credit for. JR, there's no God for animals. They all suffer and become meals. They don't all suffer, JR. The dogs, they don't become our meals. Grinch I'm not going to eat the Grinch. Lola, thank you for chilling here and relaxing. I'm getting back on topic, y'all. Okay. So I know some may or may not even believe they chose their family. So I had to learn what drew me to those things. What drew me to a person? What drew me to a job? Or what drew me to my family? Thank you, Abishak. So, yeah, JR. Okay, I only eat the basic animals. Love your cat, though. Okay, Epic. It says so in the Bible. We were given dominion over the animals and plants. Yes. Yeah, and if you study any kind of incarnations, we could have been an animal at one time, and then we all can incarnate. What if we all incarnate from the animals? See, this is why it's important to treat the animals nicely. JR, you're vegan. Yeah, I'm not vegan, but I do believe in treating the animals nicely, and I don't want to eat any animals that have suffered. This is why I think that in those old days that it was, a whole ritual, around animals. But anyway, that's not the topic. For 30 years, oh my goodness, that's a long time. That's a great discipline too, because it's hard to be vegan. I can be vegetarian sometimes, but I can't be vegan because that's so hard. That's very special. John London, the process of looking after animals like family and then losing the soul connection to death. That's what I'm saying, John London. I think they were put here to teach us about grief because life and death are a part, and then there's the dash. So it's like, what are you going to do? Luna. Okay, let me write that down, Luna, so I don't keep calling you. Okay, so Luna is Lola Young because that's important. Okay. Pescatarian for 4 years. Yeah, I eat fish and I eat mostly chicken. Every once in a while, my body craves some iron and I'll eat beef, but they raise the chickens down here. I'm not, but I do get some from the store. But yeah, the concepts. Okay. I had to learn what drew me to those things, to the people, the places, the jobs, and these things that I did want that I eventually didn't want or didn't like anymore. So I know some of you may not believe that you chose your family. And some people have to legitimately go no contact with their family. So I'm not saying you chose your family to punish you. I'm not saying that, I just have to, for empowerment purposes. And I was even in a play, I went to a Unity church one time, and I was even in a play to where we were like the souls up in the heaven or souls up in the next sphere, whatever, but we were like the souls up there and we got to choose the life that we were going into on earth, and you got to kind of see the story that you were in, the character you were going to get to play when you come to your skin body, and so, it was like, ooh, these kind of things. So it was interesting to get to have that kind of perspective. Abashwak, talking about that is really kind of helping me. Thanks. It's like therapy. Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad it's helpful. That makes my heart happy. Thank you, Abashwak. So, if they and their boundaries are not respected, people have to go no contact sometimes if you're not respected. So I'm not saying that you chose them and you chose disrespect and hate and discontent and all of this. I'm just saying that, what if we did? We don't know, So it was interesting when was in that play. So the question, what did I want, was asked for several years as I peeled the layers of self-protection away. What do you want? Because I was navigating from what I didn't want, those protective layers, those walls that I had built, the stuff I had buried on my soul, that the lies that my eyes were telling me, and everything else. And so I had to melt that stuff away. I had to cry it out. I had to work it out. You're from Mexico, Elena Ledesma? I'm not from Mexico, but I'm sitting near Cancun. Where are you at? Hello. So what was I having issues coping with, and why didn't I feel comfortable in my own skin from within? Because I did not feel comfortable in my own skin from within. I had to figure out, and that is why I asked several times. That was why I was asked several times, so that I knew, so that I could from form and plan. So I could form and plan. Always helpful to play around with concepts of personal response. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Epic. It is. It's fun to play around with that because we don't know. This is arrogance when we think that we know. And I had to learn that too, because, sometimes we think we know, we've got our, mind made up. Don't confuse me with the facts. We think we know, but we might not, so that's how we stay teachable. The opposite, the polar of arrogance is humility. And a lot of people think that humility is to be weak or to be poor or humble, this kind of thing. But it's not. It's to be teachable. It's to ask the questions. We have a lot more control of our situation than most assume. Yeah, Elena, I speak a little English. Emily, Oh, goodness. So Emily is Elena. So let me write that down too. Elena Ledesma. So I don't call y'all the wrong names. I hope I don't. I'll try to remember. See, if I write it down, it's real. If I don't write things down, and I suggest to y'all all the time, write things down, because I'll go to sleep and I don't remember. And I have to go back to my notes. Okay. Okay. Bye-bye. Adios. Have a good day. Buenas noches. It's not nighttime yet. Buenos dias. Tardis. So, anyway, I had to figure out that, and I had, was asked several times, what did I want? I would be asked, what are you afraid of? And what do you want? So that I didn't make knee-jerk reactions. It was practice and development. It was thought and process. So in addiction, no matter what kind, we just want relief. No matter what kind of addiction that it is, we just want relief. Whether you've got food addiction, alcohol addiction, drug addiction, shopping addiction, it's just like hitting that. I just want that relief. And then when you get it, sometimes it's not what you want, Knee-jerk reaction. Exactly, Giovanni. Knee-jerk reaction. So I had to figure out what I wanted. And, several times I was asked that, and the plan to carry that out. And so like an addiction, we just want relief and we want it fast and we want instant gratification. So knee-jerk decisions need to be on hold unless it's an abusive situation. So we don't do anything real fast. I'm always talking about the transference of addiction, because we can go from one addiction to another with these knee-jerk reactions. So it's about calming ourselves and doing our own inventory about what do I want. I have one kid here on the earthly plane and one kid in the spiritual plane, spiritual dimension. So I had two kids. I have two kids, but they're not kids. So if you have food addiction, just taking away the unhealthy food alone, those Big Macs that you were talking about earlier, darling, just taking away the Big Macs is not going to help. Not just the food alone. It doesn't give you self-esteem just to take the food alone away. When the surgeons that I have worked with in weight loss surgeries, they tell people, I'm doing Big Macs. No, they tell people, those surgeons I worked with, Epic, they have lettuce and they have a few onions too. They would tell people, I'm doing surgery on your body, not your mind. Because it's retraining your mind, retraining the neural pathways so that you don't cope with something outside of yourself. A lot of people see, until we can realize that we're doing these things outside of ourselves to cope. A lot of people don't want to admit, I'm doing this to cope, but they're even saying it. We talked about the other night. Hey, Rodolfo, we talked about the other night, just like my asthma, I just want medication to take away. Well, you have to have some medication to take away your suffocation. You do have to have medicine for that. Mikey, we don't talk about religion on here, but you're welcome to stay. We're talking about this evening is we're talking about what do you want and how do you get there. Okay? So you're welcome to stay, but we're not talking about that. So most addictions begin as rewards, right? Because at first, when we first start smoking this, I'm going to have a cigarette. When we start eating the wrong things, is I'm going to treat myself to this. I had one of the people I worked with was eating ice cream every night. And I said, you do know that's a treat, right? That's like a treat. So you're treating yourself every night because ice cream is a treat. But see, we redefined it. You want to reduce your belly fat? Well, keep listening, because we talk about why are we doing what we're doing? Because a lot of people have programmed their neural pathways, because when we don't know what we're feeling, it's important to understand your own feelings, to not discard or dismiss your feelings and everything, not to discard these things. We have to do that. We might have learned to discard our feelings and dismiss our thoughts, but we need to get in touch with ourselves to know, what do we really want? So most addictions begin as rewards and then become habits, and then the habit becomes a coping and excuse. So think about that a minute. It starts out as a reward, and then it becomes a habit, and then the habit becomes coping, and then it becomes an excuse. So when I worked with the weight loss community, when I was working my old job, I used to ask people, do you have a reason or do you have an excuse? Because they're different things. They sound a lot alike, but they're different. A reason or an excuse. So this is why there's transference of addictions, the only if disease. Luna. I have food addiction, and that's because of depression. Yeah. So it's important to understand what you're depressed about. Thank you for sharing that. It's important to understand what you're depressed about. A lot of people don't own their depression even. They just may think they're in a rut. They may think this or that. And sometimes depressions are temporary. Sometimes depressions call for medicine, Wellbutrin or Lexapro or something. Sometimes you really do need medicine to take the edge off, for a while. So, I'm not saying everybody does. It's important to consult your doctor, and I'm not a doctor. So, but I have used Wellbutrin and Lexapro at times, when I had the edge on, when I was grieving. Mikey, how to get rid. All right, Mikey, let's stay on topic. That's not what we're talking about, and your comment will get deleted and, things like this. So the only if disease of switching foods, substances, brands, those things that sometimes people switch. Like I used to have somebody in my life that would say, I used to be a drug addict, but now I'm an alcoholic, and sometimes people with foods, like if you have that food addiction, then sometimes people will switch foods. The reality is to try to not eat things out of a bag and not buying it. So if we don't buy that, we just don't buy that. Transfer addiction is real. So, I do coach people with food addiction if you would like coaching, Luna. So, there's that. But these videos help some too, right, Kim? So, all right. So this is where transference of addiction comes in, the only if disease. Like a lot of people on the weight loss journey think that, oh, if I could just lose weight, and I did this too. If I could just lose weight. And then when I did lose weight, then I transferred to love addiction. Because there's a real deal about love addiction. When we lose weight, we want to be attractive. And when we feel like we look attractive, then it's like, okay, then I want love. But see, if we don't love ourselves, we're never going to get enough love. That's the thing. That's what I learned about love addiction, is that it doesn't matter what size you are. It doesn't mean that your picker's broke. It means that it's your self-esteem, because you can fix your self-esteem. A lot of people just resolve it, my picker's broke in love addiction, but no, it still calls for that healing, like I'm saying, so that we can figure out what we do want. Because even when I was working on my healing, I've told a lot of that I said that, like in the when I was working on not love addiction, I worked on addictions with, I've had food addiction, I've had drug addiction, I've had alcohol addiction, which alcohol is a drug, and I've also had love addiction, I've had codependency, and then shopping addiction. So it's like a whack-a-mole sometimes, the transference of addiction. Overall, we all need love. Yes, we do. But the problem is I'm going to get down to this, is a lot of times our primary addiction is fantasy. There's been many people and many, the addiction programs that, Flying Brian, it's good to see you. Good to see you. We're talking about what do we want and how do we get there tonight. So I know you're going to have a lot of great input. So, what was I saying? See, I got my notes. Fantasy. Fantasy is the addiction above that, because that's an escapism, right? No, I don't think depression is just a trend. I think there are actual things that people get depressed about. And a lot of it's stuff that's refed to us over and over that we haven't healed from, like in childhood, or it might not even be childhood. It might have been a past relationship. What do you mean by love addiction? Oh, there is a thing called love addiction. Love addiction is oftentimes like we feel like we want somebody. We're supposed to have somebody in our life at all times. So like if you're bouncing from relationship to relationship to relationship and you're not really getting to know a person, you don't even know if you're compatible with the person. You just don't want to be alone. And so the British Broadcasting Corp, I'm going to have to look that up, Rodolfo. So anyway, yeah, depression is real. It is. Yeah, it is real. Depression is real. I've gone through depression a few times. I was depressed, when I split up from my ex-husband. I was overwhelmed. I was frustrated. It wasn't that I was, brokenhearted so much, but I dug those letters out. My daughter wrote myself. I didn't remember that she wrote me a letter, but I remembered the letter she wrote to my son about crying. But I found the letter the other day that she actually wrote me about crying. She thought I was the best mom. Now I can tell you that since she wrote that letter, that was when she was young. When she wrote that, I can tell you since she wrote that letter, she's, told me she hated me like a lot of young girls' daughters do. Not Kim's daughter, but mine. Mine did. And sometimes they do that. But no, love addiction is a real thing too. Does that make sense? Because we bounce from relationship to relationship to relationship, and we just think that we default into love. And see, if we don't love ourselves, then we're looking for somebody else to give us something that we already have, but we don't recognize it within ourselves. Let's identify the problem and learn to self-help. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I have situational depression, but at my lowest point, I tried medication. I did too, John London, because then after 4 years, I dealt okay, without medicine. But then 4 years after my son was gone, that's part of the reason I live in Mexico, because I feel like I have seasonal depression. I haven't been clinically diagnosed with it, but 4 years after losing my son, it got to where when the holidays came, yeah, I was on Wellbutrin after that. I was on Lexapro when I was depressed and crying after I got divorced, from my kid's dad. And then I was on Wellbutrin after I lost my son, but not right away. It took 4 years after I lost my son. But when every holiday rolled around and all the seasons changed, then I was depressed. And so I got so depressed after losing my son in, the 4th year after his loss, when the holidays came, I managed to get a fever blister on my face. And I don't even get fever blisters. And I got one up on my face and it went up here. And I was like, oh no, I'm too vain. I'm too vain for this. Once this starts coming up on my face, so then I got some Wellbutrin. Adolescent girls are mean. You grew up with 4 of them. They can be, Rodolfo. They sure can. My daughter, she got mean. They used to tell me when she was 14. Thank you, Luna. They used to tell me when she was 14, they'd be like, "Oh, she's so beautiful. You're going to have a time keeping the boys away from her." I'm like, "No, she's mean. She is mean." It's like, so anyway, she is beautiful, but she has boundaries. So this is where transference is the only. Okay, so I already did that part. So we can switch foods, substances, brands, and times and effort, still yet to manipulate, but not to control, right? The only control we have is within ourselves. Took after her dad, I guess. No, she learned some boundaries from me. I told the kids, I'm like, I hope you get mine and your dad's good qualities and that you heal from our bad qualities, because, that's just the way that it is. So, yet we still we may try to control outside of our comfort, but lasting comfort is the control we realize that we only have of ourselves. Lasting control is the control that you have of yourself. You're never going to have full control of another person, but we try to control other people for our comfort. I couldn't wake up, went on a pill. I was stuck in a cycle of sleep paralysis, lucid dream every morning. I think pharma companies, they do try to keep us dependent, John London. I do believe that too, that's why when when they tell you, when they prescribe you, I don't know about over there if they have the commercials, but if they have the commercials over there, but in America, when they have the commercials, their side effects may be blah, 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 blah. So then you have to get another pill for the side effects of the pill. I quit taking the Wellbutrin. I did get off of it. I weaned myself off right before we moved over here to Mexico, and it's always green here. So I haven't had depression like that. I'm like everybody else. I get depression, I get depressed about things, but Big pharma should be more scrutinized, doctors as well. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Some medication you can't stop. Some people need medication, but do people, this I don't get to say because I'm not a doctor and I don't promote not taking your medicine if you've been prescribed medicine. So I don't promote that. I'm just saying that a lot of things that can get better because I do see people get the weight loss surgery and they're not diabetic anymore. I know, right? And I have seen miracles, to where people didn't need medicine, but where some people do, no matter how hard they try to maintain, it's they can't. So we may try to control outside for comfort, but lasting comfort is the control that we realize we only have within ourselves. So, and things that took years to escalate will not be healed in 30, 60, 90 days or maybe even 1 year with a few follow-ups like I was saying earlier. I was not the exception to the rule even though I learned that I was smart. There was a while where I thought I'm the exception to the rule about all of these things. Where did everybody go? See, pharma got everybody out of here. They all left on the pharma, right? So anyway, I had to realize that I wasn't the exception to the rule. That's arrogance when we think we're the exception to the rule. So, um, John London, yeah, okay, because it's looking like I'm like, what happened? So, Luna, when I told my parents I wanted to, my parents said it was just a trend. Ah, see, this is why we dismiss, this is why we discard our feelings, is because it's oftentimes taught. Your parents aren't bad. I'm not saying that, Luna. I'm just saying that a lot of times they were taught just handle it, just handle it. And this is what a lot of people do is they were taught. And so our parents didn't have YouTube and our parents didn't have Google. They didn't have these things. So, we all get to heal from our parents because as we evolve, things change. And so your parents, I'm not saying that it's bad, but our parents were sometimes taught to dismiss our thoughts and discard our feelings or just, yeah, yeah. Thank you. I'm glad y'all are here. Thank you so much, Emma. So, you know, our parents only knew what they knew. That's right. And we only know what we know because times are changing. My daughter, I was forced to get a computer when she was 14 years old. Went kicking and screaming about the computer because I didn't want to buy a computer, but I had to at 14 because she couldn't even do homework without a computer. Jason Stillwell, hello. The topic tonight is that we're talking about what do you want and how do you get there. So, for so far, all you've missed is the healing part. Is sometimes addiction causes us to want instant gratification, so we don't even think clearly about what we want. So, a lot of the things that we have today are results of what we wanted yesterday. And what we will have tomorrow is a result for what we want today. But letting out that instant gratification part of it and understanding that can be a part of life because we've also talked about life and death. So we've covered a lot here tonight. So I'm glad you're here, Jason Stillwell, but you're still just fine and divine. I think we're only like halfway through. So glad you're here. So, Luna, hang in here. Okay, so things don't just instantly fix. We can't just instantly fix things. It takes time. These things were imprinted over a period of time. And it's, not going to necessarily take all the time that it took to imprint it because realizing that we're smart and we quit trying to prove that we are or trying to prove that we aren't. So we have to learn to just be comfortable in our own skin from within and realize we don't know everything, but we know some things. We know what we're supposed to, and we can learn. See, when we realize that we are smart, we realize we can learn. All right. Thanks, Ramon. I'm glad you're still here, too. So I had to learn that I was not the exception to the rule because, I have had people in my life that I'm like, all right, when I work with addiction, like I said, the switch and the transference of addiction, I've worked with people where I've actually, sat with them and taken their drugs away, helped them take their drugs away, broke whatever their utensils were for using, and then they went to drinking. And they'd be like, and I get it because I did that too. I didn't have utensils and so much maybe, but anyway, they went to drinking. And so I'm like, well, let me know how that works for you, you know, because it didn't work for me, but I have to let people find out on their own. They have to FAFO. So on their own. So I let them find out on their own. You know, I'm like, well, maybe you're the exception to the rule. Because I thought I was the exception to the rule for a lot of things too. As people would tell me something in my arrogance, I'd be like, well, maybe that's you. To booze is to lose. Yeah. Yeah, especially for me. So, you know, but she finally came back around and realized she could not drink. That girl was calling me stalking, drinking, and stalking her man. And I'd be like, girl, you got to stop this, you know, so, unless it's an open bar wedding. So, anyway, what I had to, I had to realize that I was smart, and uncovering what I really wanted was an adventure. It was an adventure. It wasn't like I just decided I wanted something and I got it the next day. Like this adventure getting to Spain and then Italy. It's an adventure and I get to learn a lot of things, and I might have to re-navigate, but it doesn't mean that I quit, because I don't quit. I like what Lisa Nichols says, self-medicating doesn't help at all. It does not. So what Lisa Nichols says is winners never quit and quitters never win. I love that she says that. Winners never quit and quitters never win. Luna, I'm still here. Good. Yay, Luna's still here. Leo Lee, it's good to see you. Would rather lose all your memories or lose the ability to make new ones. I know, right? I'm so grateful to be sober, because I know what I did the night before. I know what I'm going to do in the day. I know what's going on. So I'm not living life on default, There is a thing. Sometimes we can be sober and live life on default. When we have our mind made up, we're just like rigid and stubborn, trying to protect ourselves. It's usually when we're trying to protect ourselves. It took me like 5 to 7 years, even being sober, to stop trying to protect myself. So uncovering what I really wanted was an adventure. This is how I learned my autonomy. So we're going to talk about autonomy, because a lot of people want things that other people have. They think that they want what somebody else has. And, even with that, there can be a good thing and there can be a bad thing, because I had to learn to get what I wanted. I had to do what somebody did. So if I wanted what somebody had, I needed to do what they did. And was I willing to do what they did to get what they have? And so sometimes that causes us to re-navigate, because maybe, no, darling, I had something, felt like it was like cotton. I don't know if you have cottonwood, Luna, where you are, but if you have cottonwood, it felt like something like cottonwood getting in my nose. So, we need to model instead of be jealous. I used to be jealous of people who wanted what I had. I thought that they'd done something shady to get it, because this was the programming I received growing up. No worries, darling. So this was the program that I received growing up, that if somebody had what I wanted, then they must have done something that I wasn't willing to do to get it. But that's not always the case, but sometimes it is. So autonomy lets us know that I don't need to want what somebody else wants, and that I can want what somebody else wants, that I am me. This is feeling comfortable in your own skin. And I was talking to somebody the other day about autonomy, is that when we're 2 years old, what are we trying to do? We're trying to get autonomy. So that's probably when our first don't do this, don't do that we still are programmed in ourself is, because we're trying to get autonomy when we're the terrible twos, right? And then, like I said, with the 14-year-old girls and boys, sometimes that's what they want, is they want autonomy, because they're getting into adult bodies. The 2-year-olds are getting to walk around. They can do what they want to do. The 14-year-old people are in these adult bodies, and they, want to do what they want to do. My mama used to tell me, you're too old to play with toys and too young to play with boys, when I was 14, 15. Not that that worked very much again, but that's what she said. So there's no place to arrive at on this journey called life. We're all going to end up at the same place in the end. Maybe, unless your consciousness tells you differently. We may end up in different places. We've talked about that. So, but it helped me to continue to overcome This is how I learned autonomy and in the 12-step programs, but not everyone needs 12-step programs. I know that. So it helped me to continue to overcome my addictions, codependency, and other things. It says nobody's here, y'all. Did y'all all leave me? So there's no place to arrive at this journey called life. You will have blissful moments and you will have not, blissful moments. And, Luna, I'm going to try to sleep because oh no, where are you at, Luna? Yeah, but yeah, get you some rest. Thank you. Thank you for being here and thank you for subscribing. And I'm glad that you stayed. Grinch does have something to say. You think YouTube's glitching? Yeah, something weird's been going on with YouTube today. Thank you, because yeah, it's telling me one person is here and I see 3 comments. So now I see 3 here. But it's weird. It's weird. So there's no place to arrive at this journey called life. You will have blissful moments and you will have not blissful moments. And all of that is life on life's terms and learning not to take the good stuff personally and the bad still personally. Yeah, rest well, Luna. Get you some blessed and regenerated rest. Yeah, it's really late there. Yeah, get you some rest. Thank you for being here tonight. So Luna, are you still here? Because I'll be back on here. I'll be back on here Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. I had to remember what day it is. Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. Norway. Yes, get you some rest. And I hope to see you Wednesday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. I don't know what time it will be in Norway, but all right. Well, thank you, Rodolfo. Thank y'all for checking in, letting me know, because yeah, something's weird going on there. Luna is going to sleep now. Night, night, Luna. All right. So, we learn not to take the bad moments or the blissful moments. 2:00. Woof. Yeah. Jason Stillwell, I'm here. I'm an exception to the rule, but it's my rule, so it may not count. I hear you. I like that. So, not taking things personal, and this, is the art of non-attachment. So, when I don't know how I'm going to get somewhere, thank you, Luna. Sweet dreams. Still here. I know, right, John London? It's weird. It's just weird. So when we don't take things personal, it's your personal experience with it, but it's not personal. The things happening outside of you, the way that somebody's behaving today is the way they're behaving today because that's the way they behave. And when we don't get what we want right away, it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean not ever. It means that there's a practice and development and skill building and things like this. I wanted to win the lottery. And when I think about if I would have won the lottery all the times, then what would I have done? I would have already blown all that money, and I would have spent it on the relationships. I would have spent it on this. I would have spent it on that. So it's a good thing that I didn't, and when we can start getting things in perspective. I am from the South. Thank you, Dead Mike. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas, but I'm sitting near beautiful Cancun right now. Thank you for those hearts, darling. So, that is the art of non-attachment. This is something that codependents and love addicts need terribly, is that art of non-attachment. This doesn't mean avoidant. So it's not meaning avoidant. It's meaning non-attachment. It's not like grabbing on to something and then just like having to have it under the microscope, because people in anxious attachment. Thank you, Dead Mike. So, when we're able to look at the beauty inside and outside of ourselves, when you're able to love and respect yourself and look at the beauty inside and outside of yourself without chasing and taking hostage someone to prove our worth. That's what love addiction and codependency are, is taking somebody else hostage to prove your worth. That's part of it. So, they're like, you have to know where they are all the time, what they're doing all the time to prove your worth. That's sad. I've done it. I'm not proud of it, but it's sad. So when we do that, that's when we'll begin to have a healthy navigation of what we want, is when we're able to own that, though. When you're able to own that, that's what I'm doing, that's what I've done, then you're able to have a more confident, because that's insecure and you want a more confident. And a lot of us want to be more confident. And so that's how we get there. So when we're not trying to prove our worth, we'll begin to have a healthy navigation of what we want rather than trying desperately to manipulate things. My experience was that when I tried to manipulate, I got manipulated. Anybody else? Because when I was trying to manipulate somebody else, that was my last time out drinking, was I was trying to manipulate somebody so I could get some Bon Jovi tickets to go to New York City to see Bon Jovi. And I got drunk and somebody was trying to manipulate me, and I was trying to manipulate somebody else and I ended up paying for it. So anyway, when the pain gets great enough, we will own that. When the pain gets great enough. Hello, Jason Nesbot from England. Congratulations on the soccer win, Dead Mike. Is this self-help channel? I'm new here. Yes, Dead Mike, subscribe to this channel. What we're talking about tonight is what do you want and how do you get there? So we've been talking about the different ways that we go about, and getting focused on what it is we really want, because a lot of things we have today, we wanted the other day. So what do we want now? And building upon, practice and development and building rather than breaking and tearing down. So when the pain gets great enough, we'll own that. So I encourage us not to think that what we want like something on Amazon. It's easy to do that knee-jerk reaction of Amazon. So we know that once we get a lot of that stuff, that's a reality, that it's just stuff with no feelings. And that's not who you are. So relating with stuff, why am I relating with this stuff? Do I need this stuff? So yeah, asking, what do I really want? Because if you're ordering on Amazon and then you're looking at your bank account and then you're like, oh, I wish I had that money for this instead of having ordered that. If you ever have buyer's regret, if you have food regret, if you have, regret after you've drank or what have you, then you wish you wouldn't have. And that's using against your will. Okay. I'm not going to address that. Bon Jovi, Living on a Prayer. Absolutely. Thank you, Dead Mike. I appreciate that. Jason, football, not your thing. Rugby, though, is Northampton. Yeah, it's not my thing either. It's just that I live down here in Mexico, and I heard about it last night. I don't watch anything like that, but I heard them like, oh, duh. All that kind of stuff. Your fire state. I don't understand, Scott. Thank you, though. Sending love from California. All right, Dead Mike. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Raven, hello, darling. It's good to see you. I'm glad you're here. The silent abuse looks like. Oh, the silent abuse. I've been told that before. The silent abuse. It will come to me in a minute. I didn't write his name down, but I know it. I know California is nice. Rob Banks. I used to know a woman named Stacy. Oh, well, that's not very nice, Rob Banks. David Russ. I'm happy. Ramon. I used to hang out with him years. You hung out with Bon Jovi? Yeah, because where you grew up wasn't far from Jersey. Dead Mike, I bet you can cook it. I don't cook any casseroles. No. Oh, hey, Five Elements. Bobby's back. Dana Schmier, thank you for following me. Jason Nesbot, it's 2:00 in the morning. The lads all had to drive funny. Okay. Rob Banks, I used to know one. Okay, that's not very nice. Yep. All right. Oh, Kim already did it. I was about to do it, Kim. I was like, I'm not putting up with this man. All right, Eden, I do like rock music, but what we're talking about tonight, he did have long hair. I followed John Bon Jovi for a long time. I had a boyfriend that used to say she would drink his bathwater. Anyway, let's get to the topic. Asking, what do I really want? You all have heard me say there were things that I wanted but did not make choices that would get me that. Okay, did Mike, thank you. So I used to I would say I wanted this, but I didn't make choices. So this is what I mean about the practice and development is that we need to make the choices to get that. I know he is still handsome. So, yeah. So making our choices to get that. That's when I was talking earlier about if we want what somebody's got, we got to do what they did to get it, because they didn't necessarily do anything shady to get it. Some people do, but it's about getting in with who once we learn to trust ourselves, we know, what we want, really, what we really want. So we need to be clear, like I said, because not only did you want what you have now, but there's also someone else out there that wants what you have, right? So this is where we can be inspiring because we can teach somebody how to get what we have if we're not afraid of them taking what we have. But our human survival to the fittest is us being afraid somebody's going to get what we have, or we're going to not get what we want. Thank you, Paul. So 21 gun, we're not talking about that, but you're welcome to stay, and I hope that this will be helpful. So we need to be clear because sometimes somebody wants what you have. And sometimes I know that when in our emotional immaturity, we may think we don't want something, but if somebody else wants it, then all of a sudden we want it, So that's emotional immaturity. And it takes a while if you've been in addiction or codependency to understand that. So maybe just like you taken for granted what you have, what they have, I don't remember. I wrote this last night. Hello, Pam. It's good to see you, darling. Kim's in the house, and there's a lot of people in the house, but y'all two are moderators. So, and I don't know if Angie's still here. So, to get what you want, there needs to be healing and time. Instant gratification typically isn't long satisfying. You won't be satisfied very long with instant gratification. So, if you want the longevity of getting something, then we need to continue. It's practice and development and growth. We understand it's growth. You don't all of a sudden instant gratification doesn't give us growth, really. Now, when you're growing for a goal, when things do happen, they may happen rapidly, but it's a process to get there. So after we learn to pause and take our time and inventory our good feelings and bad feelings, again, in the weight loss community, I help people clear what choice brings a good feeling and a bad feeling when that has been fueled by not so healthy food or sugar. Other addictions, other addictions, our receptors and neural pathways need to change. So our receptors and neural pathways, that's why the only if disease doesn't work. Only if I get here or only if I get there. So we have to, change our neural pathways, change the patterns, and that's the thinking patterns, with those neural pathways. So I help people clear what choice brings that good feeling and bad feeling. So they know if they choose this, that regret that I talked about earlier, then they may feel regret. If they choose this, they'll feel good. So they want to practice and develop this one and not that one. So sometimes you got to pray for the obsession to go away. That's what I've done all these years, is just pray for the obsession to go away. Just pause and pray for the obsession. And I'm not telling y'all who or what to pray to or what to believe, but I know for me, I'd breathe, pray for the obsession to go away, and say, I don't know. Because you know what? A lot of times we're making stories up about when we think somebody wants what when we're afraid we're going to lose what we have or not get what we want, we start making up these survival skill stories, tactical stories. Well, thank you, Dead Mike. So, yes, I have, Mr. Fox. Yes, I have. Where Mr. Fox says, have you ever thought about those times when you thought you knew something, but it turned out you knew nothing at all, but it all worked out in the end anyway? That's why you'll never see a turtle jump. Well, I don't understand the turtle jump part, but I've never seen it. But yes, I do believe that. Thank you, Kim. So, the pathways need to change. We have to change our neural pathways because those were the ones that imprinted our reactions from our responses. So we don't want to react, to a problem and grab food or grab, whatever it is outside of us that we want to bring us comfort, peace, or spirit, or our feeling good enough, So we talked about the practice and development. This is necessary in changing the neural pathways. They need neuroplasticity to retrain what feels good when healthier choices are made from healed thoughts and feelings. So we have to heal our thoughts and feelings to make those healthier choices. So it works together because Kim was in one of my classes where I talked about how our gut brain and our brain are communicating all the time. They're always communicating. John London, we humans have some funny psychological quirks like loss aversion and value in what others want. I know, right? I know. It's a competition and comparing and competition. And, a lot of that's instilled us in marketing. It's instilled in us in comparison with the siblings. It can be instilled with all kinds of different things. So bad feelings and insecurities just don't go away with the realization that they're there. Jason Stillwell, I had to pray for my issues to be removed, but I wasn't successful until I did the work to overcome the addiction, which can be uncomfortable and even painful. Exactly. It's taking that inventory to ourselves, because I know a lot of people think that, my dad, he got sober through religion, got clean and sober through religion, but then he still had the food addiction, so it doesn't change anything until we do the inventory and realize why we're behaving and why we're self-sabotaging, because it is the addiction issues are self-sabotage. And why are we trying to kill ourselves? Because that's what's going to happen if we keep on. So I'm glad that you did that, Jason Stillwell. Dr. Mark, good evening. We are good. How are you from New York? Thank you for joining us. So tonight we're talking about what do we want and how do we get there. So we've been talking about healing, and we're at the part of healing the neural pathways. And that means, the bad feelings and insecurities just don't go away just because we acknowledge we have bad feelings and insecurities. Like Jason Stillwell was just saying, is that we have to dig deeper. Is why do I have the bad feelings? And so digging deeper, finding out why we have the bad feelings so that we can realize what's on the other side of the bad feelings or the good feelings, and retrain those neural pathways, because we strategically try to keep from feeling the bad feelings. And that's usually what brings on the coping with the addictions, whatever it is, whether it's food, drugs and alcohol, or, shopping, or love addiction, or codependency. There's even addiction to chaos. Some people are addicted to chaos. So when you realize that the bad feelings and insecurities don't go away, that they're just the realization doesn't take them away, you need to diagnose how did it get there so you can immune yourself to relapse. Did you find this? I did find the naughty lady of Shady Lane. I did listen to it. I only got to listen to it once, but I think the ending part was what you were relating to me, because I was listening to it and I was like, I wonder how that relates to me. And then the ending part. So yes, I'm going to listen to it again, though. I did, though. Thank you. I sure did. I had it written down here. I still got it written down. See, I write these things down. When y'all say something, I've got this piece of paper because it's real if I write it down. I suggested, the clients to write things down. So I do like rock music, the Quiet 11. So I was just talking about Bon Jovi a while ago. So this brings us to how do we get there? So we talked about what do we want, and now we're talking about how do we get there? Okay, well, we're not talking about that, Dave, but you're welcome to be here. But we're talking about what do I want and how do we get there? So this brings us to how do we get there? Just like that, practice and development, not instant gratification. Instant gratification, it doesn't come. So this is why a lot of people give up. But when we understand that there's that practice and development to make us feel secure and confident, right? So this means if you're codependent or addicted, that just the knowledge of the problem doesn't fix it. You need to take the adventure to yourself to be clear about what is and what isn't for you, so that you're not running to and from things like you've done in the past, like maybe shopping, going to shopping addiction. A lot of people, go to that one next. Sometimes our feelings are brought upon us by people, situations beyond our control, but sometimes they're a message from our conscience. I'm recognizing the wrong that we do to ourselves. Yes. Yes, absolutely. I know that that's like retraining our neural pathways so that we're clear. This is how we learn to trust ourselves, right, Dr. Mark? This is how we learn to trust ourselves, is when we realize, are they really doing something? Because people are behaving the way they're going to behave. And so I talked about earlier about not taking things personal, because sometimes we take it personal and it's not the way other people behave may not be personal towards us. Can y'all still hear me? Because I had somebody trying to call me. So please tell me you can still hear me, because I think that works when I hit the side button. So can y'all hear me? Somebody tell me you can hear me. Can y'all hear me yet? I'm thinking y'all can't hear me. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Hello? All right. I'm going to try to talk and see if y'all can hear me. Can anybody hear me? Oh, okay. So y'all can hear me now? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Somebody called, and I've learned that if I hit the button on the side of my phone, y'all can still hear me. But if I swipe, y'all can't hear me. So thank y'all. All right. So this means if you're codependent or addicted, just knowledge of the problem doesn't fix it. You need to take the adventure to yourself to be clear about what is and what is not for you, so you're not running to and from things. Thank you, John London. Dr. Mark, if you remember, I told you yesterday that I was shocked when I was a little boy, and this in itself did not shock when I was a little boy, but I never forgot it, and I'm an older guy, and that has stayed with me. Yes. And I imagine that created a fear, because we will be afraid that will happen again when it was an unpleasant experience. So a lot of times we give so much energy to that we're not even free to the fullness of life when we have all these fears. So healing these fears opens us up to the freedom. And that's what I try to do here, is help us to open up to the freedom of living in this uncertainty, because we're all living in uncertainty. So yes, I remember that. And I imagine that's a real fear. And that's what I was saying, is that, yeah. So I think you heard what I was saying, that it's like trying to make sure that this doesn't happen, that we don't really get to live fully in the present moment a lot of times. Thanks, Rodolfo. So let me remind, so you need to, okay, find my spot. Let me remind you that in addiction, what most of us don't realize is that fantasy is the biggest commonality. So what some that I have known have called their first addiction, because when we drink or when we put something out inside of our body, or when we're shopping, we're hoping, well, I'm going to get the money. I don't know about y'all, but sometimes when we're in that shopping addiction, well, when I'll go ahead and buy this, because then I'm going to get money for this. And then sometimes this doesn't come in, right? So playing these games, kind of roulette, right? So let me remind you that in addiction, what most fantasy, okay, I already said that. So getting to have a relationship with our addiction is the first, because it can manifest in a variety of ways. So having that relationship, I have a relationship with my addiction. A lot of people say, I hate addiction and da 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 da, but how do I stop buying things? Well, it's to realize why you feel like you have to buy these things. Is there not enough? Because addiction is about not enough. They say in drug addiction, one is too many and 1,000's never enough. And same as in other things, is what's enough. Somebody, was sharing that they slipped to shopping addiction, and that they had 4 of one thing in their closet or something like this. And that, sometimes, why are we doing this? We can get sucked in. And it's that I didn't feel good enough. So if we didn't feel good enough because we couldn't have something in the past, usually this is where hoarding and addiction come in, is that we buy a bunch of it, or because we can. And it is a lot of influence too, Kevin. You're right. A lot of it is influence, because media will certainly influence you to buy. You can buy stuff on everything. So I can't tell you, I can tell you the only there, how do we get there? So we've been talking about what do I want and how do I get there? So the only there that I am being as comfortable in my own skin, because everything's subject to change outside of me. I don't have control over a lot of things. I can have that non-attachment to what I do want, meaning I'm gonna move to Spain. If I make up my mind to do something, I'm gonna do it. I've had to learn to have patience, that it doesn't happen just because I make up my mind. It doesn't happen yet. It will happen, but it's going to happen in divine time. I've learned to trust divine time. Divine time. I don't have to navigate it. I don't have to manipulate it. I mean, I do have to navigate it, but I don't have to manipulate it. It's what I was meaning to say. I don't have to manipulate it, but I get to navigate it. And sometimes I get to re-navigate. Thank you. So I have to figure out why I want to eat all the time. Yes. Yes. Yes, darling. You have to dig. It takes digging off of our soul. Hello, Jen. I'm glad that you're here tonight. Hello. So we've been talking about what do I want and how do I get there. So we've talked about, that working, understanding that addictions is transference. So a lot of the things that we want is instant gratification from whatever that we need to heal from. So healing is the first step of understanding what do I want. Because for me, being able to be comfortable in my own skin, we talked about autonomy, because we all want our autonomy. At 2 years old, we're trying to get autonomy when we realize we can walk, but then we get restrictions, right? Then at 14, when we get in grown bodies, most of us are almost grown by the time we're 14 in our bodies. And then we want our autonomy again because we think we're grown. So then when we get grown, Yes, Zeus Trek, and we do talk about addiction. We've been talking about addiction and healing. Taking away the addiction itself isn't going to just solve the problem. That there's this transference of addiction, and so when we're trying to navigate what do we want, we have to understand that there could be a transference. So if we don't get clear and do the healing work, we're going to keep grabbing for things outside of ourselves to bring us comfort, peace, our spirit, our feeling good enough. And sometimes people are addicted to chaos. So we're almost done, y'all. We're getting there. So, yeah. The only there that I am being comfortable, that I am, is being comfortable in my own skin and knowing that love, peace, acceptance, and security are inside of me. That's great. Well, that's good. I hope you don't slip into another addiction, because God's great, and God is a continuing journey, relationship, at least for me. That's all a continuing relationship. And unfortunately, there's people in this world. Not unfortunately, I'm just kidding. But a lot of people relapse because of their fears around people. If they lose somebody, some people relapse. When I lost my son, all those people, I had 13 years clean and sober, but all those people in recovery, my support group supported me so that I didn't use, because that was some hard stuff. Because life on life's terms, that is very good. I'm so glad that God changed your life too. But life on life's terms goes up and down just like our breath and heartbeat. So, yeah. That's great, Zeus. Good deal. All right, so back to the topic. So that we're almost done. So not everything goes exactly. I hope this will be helpful, Zeus. Not everything goes exactly how I want, but I'm not settling. Does that make sense? I'm not settling. How many of us have settled? If you're in love addiction or codependency, you have settled. So I'm not settling. So even though if things don't go my way, I'm not just saying, okay, well, this is the best that I can do. Now I used to, probably 30 years ago. Well, this is the best that I can do. I had to realize I could do better when I started learning that practice and development and doing just one thing, doing just another thing, but also doing all the healing work. So having trust and faith that after all these years to know myself, and that is the best adventure, the job, the partnership, that with myself and source. You live on in the streets. I personally have not ever had an addiction. However, I had vast experience with people who have had addictions, and most of the time, the psychological aspect is just as damaging as the physical. Absolutely, Dr. Mark. Addiction causes us to compromise ourselves, and healing from addiction means healing all those times that we compromised ourselves. That's why I say I'm not settling. Yeah, and everybody will, thank you for being here, because everybody will deal with people who are addicts or codependent, or, we all get to deal with grief. We all get to deal with grief. So having faith and trust in all those years to know myself, so most of the time we make up our mind and get the quality help we need. We can defeat our addiction by better thoughts, also referred to as diversion of the mind, improving our thinking. Yeah, I was just talking about that. When we retrain our neural pathways, that when we change our perceptions, we change those neural pathways. So getting the old perceptions out through the healing so that we can get new perceptions in. All right. We'll have fun in Mississippi, Zeus. Getting high on life. Very cool. Kim's in Tennessee. You're 10 minutes away from Graceland? I've been to Graceland many times. So, yeah. Having the best adventure, the job, anything like, if I want something, I know that's going to come with myself and my source. Because as I said, through these years, I've managed to, after I worked on my addiction, every time I've worked the steps on my addictions, or whether it was Elvis Presley territory, exactly, I've been to Graceland like probably 6 times, half dozen times. My mother used to have us go to Graceland every year after my son passed. So, this is why I have notes, y'all. This is why I have notes. So that was my self and source. And so I search for guidance. I understand it's not going to come immediately like a lightning bolt, but it is getting clear about what I want with the art of non-attachment. So it's not saying I'm not going to get it because I'm non-attached. It just means this is what I want and what do I need to do to get there? And to know that it's one thing on a daily basis, or not even a daily basis. It's like, how bad do I want it? How free do I want to be? I know, rest in peace. I know, y'all, Elvis Presley taught me how to dance. I was telling y'all in one of the things that I knew how to dance before I knew how to walk, because I would listen to Elvis and be on the coffee table just. So maybe for August 16th, his anniversary of his death, maybe I'll do a dance on either Facebook or here or something, celebrate his life. So, let me find where I was. Thank y'all for being here. So the art of non-attachment. So I'm not trying to exert my will for something that I haven't practiced and developed. Does that make sense? I'm not trying to exert my will over something that I haven't practiced and developed yet. Because when I'm practicing and developing, sometimes I'm praying. Sometimes I am praying when I'm practicing and developing, because I don't know how things are going to happen. I don't know how. So August 16th is your mom's birthday. Oh, August 15th. He passed on August 16th. My birthday's on August 6th. So, anyway. Jason Stilwell. As someone who's been battling certain addictions for 20 years, I am now over them. I can say it's very difficult to retrain the neural pathways, but it can be done. Absolutely, Jason. I'm still retraining mine. Every once in a while, something will come to my mind and I'll be like, what? Where did that come from? It's not me wanting to use an addiction. It's a memory, and it'll be like, oh, So, yeah. You were only over a year old. Yeah, I got to see him when I was like, I always tell everybody this. It's my big brag, because it was one of my most memorable things, is that I got to see Elvis when I was like 11 years old. I was 10 rows away from the stage in Tarrant County Convention Center, and I got to run up to that stage, and his security I was on the left side of the stage, and the security was like, little girl, you better go sit down. I'm like, looking up at the Elvis. So anyway, the little girl didn't go sit down until they make me. And okay, so ask my source. 20 years of abuse. I thought I'd be sober. I was in a dark place. It does suck. Somebody asked earlier about, hell, and that is hell. Wow. I didn't get to meet the king. I didn't get to meet him. All I got was a wink because I was only 11 years old. So there was a bunch of women over me. I didn't even get a scarf, but I did get a wink. He did wink at me. So, yeah. So that is the best. Okay, that myself and source. I asked my source for guidance and understand that it's not going to come immediately like a lightning bolt, but it is getting clear about what I want with the art of non-attachment. So I'm not trying to exert my will for something that I haven't practiced and developed and will not feel like I have ownership of it is an instant luck. I might be tempted to second guess it, but when I have worked for something, I get to not only feel like an authority in it, but have that sense of accomplishment. So that practice and development helped me to be clear and confident. And so healing is not a one and done. It's a process and a way of life. We feel less pain if we take the time to heal. Okay? I know. I got that wink, and I always try to watch. I still watch Elvis videos, and I'll be like waiting for it to see a wink like the wink I got. You got you some overhauls. I walked today. I walked all the way down to the porch side, which takes about 45 minutes to an hour, and then all the way back from the porch side. So I did my walking today in my overalls. So, healing is not, like I said, a one and done. It's a process and a way of life. So we feel less pain if we take the time to heal. So we're now ready for the summary, and then we will breathe, y'all, because what's breathing do? It's regulation and regeneration. Your brain loves the oxygen, and so do your cells. When your cells get regenerated through having oxygen in them. So, in summary, what we want in life doesn't become clear simply because we're unhappy with what we have. Jason Stilwell. My mother saw him 3 times. I just met him. I was born about 10 months after he died. I went from the Monkees to Elvis to the Beatles. That period was the best. Yeah. Hello, Don. It's good to see you. Missed him, not met him. Yeah, you did just miss him, but I know that we still get to see him today. He keeps showing up, don't he? He just keeps showing up. Yep. He would be surprised at how he still keeps showing up today, wouldn't he? He's a legend. A legend. He also had addictive issues, though. He had food addiction, and pharmaceutical addiction is hard. So what we want in life doesn't become clear simply because we're unhappy with what we have. Many of us become experts at identifying what we don't want, but lasting change. Most of us are, though, talented. There's a lot of people that are very talented, that struggle with addiction. I didn't meet Elvis. No, I got to see Elvis, though. When I was 11 years old, my grandpa used to work Spotlight at Tarrant County Convention Center. Thank you, Art by Shaznim. Hi, Ty Hughes. Oh, JR, you leaving us? Well, it was good to see you. I'm glad that you came on here tonight. Thank you for being here. I'll be back on here Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. So, no, I got to see Elvis when I was 11, Don. It was amazing. I got winked at. I did not get a scarf. I bought a scarf later when I was at Graceland, as Zeus was telling us that he's close to Graceland. Okay, JR, have a good night. All right, we're in the summary part, so we're about to breathe here pretty soon. You're very welcome. Elvis liked younger girls. Yes, he did like younger girls, too. He sure did. Yeah, I don't know that I would have liked Elvis as a boyfriend because he had some funky fetishes, but he sure was a handsome man, and he was very talented. But yeah. I wanted to be Lisa Marie's life coach, though, because, she could have used me, his daughter, because she lost a son and she lost her dad, and I've lost a son and I lost my dad. So anyway, many of us become experts at identifying what we don't want, but lasting change comes from healing the parts of us that chose those things in the first place. So we chose a lot of these things. That's taking ownership. When we're healing, it's like we realize, why did I choose this? What in me was missing? What did I want? Because a lot of times what we wanted, we're not happy with now. Michael Jackson and Bruno Mars and George Michael. They were very good. Well, Bruno Mars is still here, but those were very good too. I danced to a lot of George Michael. Michael Jackson, I guess I danced to some too. Bruno Mars, I have danced to. Bruno Mars is meh for me because I'm older, I think, is why. So true transformation requires self-awareness, emotional regulation, patience, and practice, whether it's addiction, codependency, unhealthy relationships, food, or any other coping mechanism. Removing the behavior alone doesn't heal the beliefs beneath it, you see. So we have to uncover why we sought relief outside of ourselves, develop healthier tools, and retrain our minds through consistent practice. Healing isn't about arriving at a destination. It's about becoming comfortable in your own skin and learning to trust yourself. Don, sadly, I had a boss called Elvis, and he was awful. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not cool. Yeah, that's not good to use Elvis' name like that. I'm being mean. I just So healing isn't about arriving at a destination. It's about becoming comfortable in your own skin, learning to trust ourselves, and making choices that align with who we are rather than what our wounds taught us to be. As we heal, what we truly want becomes clear, and the path towards it becomes less about chasing fulfillment and more about living from it. Jason, I had a food disorder for a long time. I didn't drink or do drugs, but I ate a lot and got up to 430 pounds. Oh, wow. Congratulations. Aw, that is so good. Congratulations. That's really good, losing 120 pounds. My dad lost 130 pounds one time, but he had gained it back. He had regained, but he did. But he lost it using drugs. So just like me, I lost mine. I had food addiction. Then I got drug addiction because I watched him. I'm like, oh, this is how you lose weight. So then I had love addiction after the drug addiction. And then after love addiction, I had codependency. And then after codependency, I went to alcohol. And then after alcohol, I went to shopping. Hi, Ginger Diwali. Well, so it was a whack-a-mole. Congratulations, and I hope that you'll keep on the journey. And I hope that that you continue to know your value within yourself. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas, but I'm sitting near beautiful Cancun. All right, so I'm going to repeat the last line, and then we're going into closing, and then we're going to breathe, darlings. So as we heal, what we truly want becomes clear, and the path towards it becomes less about chasing fulfillment and about more from living from it. So it's those one little things help us to feel accomplished rather than thinking we got to get the whole thing instantly. Okay? So then closing, what do we want and how do we get there? I know, right, Jen? He's doing amazing. Hold that value. So the answer isn't found in rushing toward the next relationship, job, achievement, or escape. It's found in slowing down long enough to heal the part of us that kept looking outside of ourselves for what has always needed to be cultivated within. Thanks, Mark Charles. So, the more we heal, the clearer our vision becomes. We stop making decisions from fear, loneliness, or desperation and begin making them from confidence, peace, and self-respect. We learn that happiness isn't something that we stumble upon or someone else gives us. Okay? It's something we create through practice and development, honesty, and a willingness to keep growing. So healing isn't a one-time event. I'm still healing from things, I heal from things still. I'm still healing from the grief of the loss of my son, obviously. I'm still healing, things come to us out of the blue that we remember from the past sometimes. And it's not who we are. It's just a memory. It's just a thought. And we understand it's just a memory, it's just a thought. It isn't who we are today. That we have practiced and developed a lot. You've proved your worth, but you need to own it. So healing isn't a one-time event, it's a way of living. Every time we choose awareness over reaction, and responsibility over blame, and growth over instant gratification, we move one step closer to what we truly want. And perhaps the greatest destination isn't arriving anywhere else at all. It's finally arriving home within yourself, to being comfortable in your own skin. So, wherever we go, there we are. So it's about being comfortable in our own skin, but knowing that life is an adventure and living it to the fullest. Making sure you're in charge of your dash, that that in your autonomy you own that this is what I want. But it's that practice and development, not a knee jerk. Okay? All right, y'all. So are y'all ready to breathe, darlings? It's time to breathe. Again, it's regulation and regeneration in your mind, because sometimes when we get overwhelmed and stressed, we just need to breathe, darling. I hope y'all hear me in your head. I know Kim does, saying, breathe, darling. So we're going to breathe, and we're going to slow it down. This slows down our central nervous system, and my teacher, kind of, I guess I could be kind of like a teacher. I'm a mindset coach, a life coach. So I try to help people feel comfortable in their own skin from within and take that adventure to themselves, their cells and their soul, because it all changes in that neuroplasticity. Your cells will change as your thoughts, because all these chemicals that get released as a result of your thoughts, they connect with your cells. So your molecules and all these things that are going on within us that we may not understand. Thank you very much. Before we breathe, I want to remind you, if you haven't subscribed to this channel and you like this kind of content, please subscribe to this channel, because I really look forward to connecting with y'all. I connect with y'all on Monday nights and Friday nights at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. I come on here. And then I'm here on Wednesday mornings and Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. All right? So we're going to breathe, darlings. What we're going to do is take a deep breath in. You'll notice how when you breathe all the way in fully to your stomach, just do the best you can. Good night, Mark Charles, YouTube. It's good to see you. Breathe all the way into your stomach. Your shoulders will rise. Your heart will open. So you'll be open and receptive to the divine collective. Okay, so your heart will open. This is a part of your body language. You feel better when your body language is more open. So breathe in, open it up. This is what we did when we were kids. But, as 2-year-old getting in trouble, 14-year-old getting in trouble, we tend to go. So let's breathe, darling. Let's breathe all the way in fully. We're going to hold it for 4 counts if you can. But if you can't, just do your best. I know that sometimes we just can't hold it that long. Just do your best, because just slowing down is what we're doing. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's all my hairs. I cut my hairs and I don't color my hairs. So it's all natural. All right, y'all, let's breathe. Grinch, are you going to breathe? Are you going to breathe with us? Are you trying to go to sleep? You going to sleep? You going to breathe with us? Sorry, y'all, Grinch is going to sleep. He's in his house. Thank you very much, Ariane. I love that part of healing, realizing that I'm not that person anymore. In many instances, I never was that person, and who I am is evolved, and who I'm becoming is exciting. You've always been enough. Yes. Yes. Thank you, John London. Good night, Weiss, Masal. All right. We're going to breathe. Let's do this. Thank you so much, everyone, for your input this evening. I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much, Kim, for moderating. And you did a great job as always. And I want to thank you all for being here. And thank you all who have subscribed way back, and then who've subscribed recently, and then who's subscribing tonight. Let's breathe. We're going to do 5 of them. Okay? Doing 5. Thank you so much, Ariane. All right. So just 5. Here we grow. Take a deep breath in. Hold it. And release. release. Breathe. Hold it. And release. Breathe in. Hold it. And release gently and slowly through your mouth. Just 2 more. Breathe. Hold it. Release. Last one. Breathe in. Hold it. And release. Granch, you want to come over here? Come here. Come tell Kim good night. Come on. Come tell Kim good night. Say good night, Kim. Say good night, Kim. Yeah. Good night. Yeah. Good night. All right, y'all. Hope y'all have a good night, good rest of your evening. Thank y'all for being here tonight. Am I a witch? Some people probably say I am. All right, y'all. John London, breathing is my favorite part as you look so beautiful. Thank you, John London. I hope I can get the surgery one of these days. I didn't have to wear glasses until about 10 years ago or so. Now I can't see without them. But yeah, I hope I can get the surgery to correct the vision one of these days, so all I have to wear is sunglasses. That would be cool. Thank you. I have to have these to read, and I have my notes there. So good night, John London. Yes, Kim loves you, Grinchy. Good night, John London. Good night, Grinch. I mean, Kim. Grinch and I are about to meditate. Since Elvis came up tonight, let's end with Elvis. He left the building. That sounds good. How about that? Elvis, he left the building. Jen. Good night, darling. Y'all have a good night. Elvis has left the building. I like that. See y'all Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. or Friday night at 6. Thank you so much. Good night, beautiful.